Juvenile Justice meeting order. We'll start with roll call, please.
Mr. Hess,
Present.
Mr. Byrne, Mr. Lear, Mr. Legess, Mr. Olthoff, Mr. Snipes, Miss Dunbar, Mr. Ritter, Miss Parker, Mr. Fairfield, Mr. Carrico, Mr. Eckhoff, Mr. Smith, Ms. Zakulo, Mr. Wheeler, Mr. Seroy. We have a quorum.
I have not received anything for public comment. Is there any public comment at this time? Any public comment? Move on to the approval of minutes for April 10th, 2019. Take a motion, Mr. Olthoff. Second, Ms. Parker. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Judge Kramer this morning, Circuit Clerk's Office. In your package you have a copy of the Circuit Clerk's report. Take a motion to approve. Mr. Byrne, second by Mr. Olthoff. Good morning, Sandy.
Morning.
Comments on your report?
None other than the big reports, the normal one as usual. The Harris open inventory analysis. We've turned over 1,500 cases so far this year, so that's, pretty normal. For the recovery report, I wanted to note, since I wasn't here last month, that I believe we were ahead $57,000 in collections for March, and that was because of the federal slowdown the month or so before, and so that's why it went from 90,000 to 238, just like everybody started pouring in with their money after with their income tax money themselves. So let's see what else. The state's attorney collection court call, they brought in 18,700 in April, so we're collecting. But all these totals on this report eventually reflects, in the big report by the time it divides out.
Questions or comments on the report for Sandy? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Computerization?
Yeah, so the e-filing testing is still happening. We have set it up in all the case types for civil, and Paula, one of my employees, is working between Tyler and Courtview, trying to make sure that the mapping is all correct and that the cases transfer over, so when we do our e-filing, it'll all come out correctly with the fees attached and all the docket codes blend together, and it's a complicated process. So I'm not sure, one person did their update, so then the next company, so now the next company is going back to respond to those issues. So we're still plugging along. I'm hoping that we will be ready to be integrated by the time the July 1st fees change and things like that. Tyler has responded to the circuit clerks and the appellate and Supreme Court clerks in creating an e-file user group just for Illinois. So last week they were here. They've done a tour of Illinois, starting at the appellate court in Springfield and the Supreme Court in Springfield. And then they went to McLean County, and on Tuesday they were in Kankakee Wednesday. They went to DeKalb Thursday and McHenry Friday. And they are going to see what issues we are all having. And once they were there and saw what we've been going through this whole year and a half with this system, they understood, and they're responding to a lot of our pleas as far as what things we need. And I told them numerous times how much I appreciated them being there, because this was the hand-holding that we really needed at the beginning, and not, a year and a half later. So we're having another conference call on Friday to see how that all went with the different counties and the Supreme Court. And then we're going to figure out what other counties we want to incorporate into this, and then just keep building on it so that they can visit, because there's just too many issues trying to get all the granular details. That's the hard part. You know, the big picture makes it all easy, but it's all the little fine details and all the little, so it's been a complicated process. I wanted to talk to, our office is having a hard time keeping up with everything that we've got going on. I know that I've had conversations with probation and state's attorney's office because our office isn't able to get their work completed so that the other offices can do their work. So it's a hard pill to swallow, but we're doing the best we can. One of the clerks, when I talked to her about her situation, you know, she said, well, I think our courtroom has more cases than the like type courtroom, you know, in the courthouse. So I thought, well, I'll look into that. So all I did is I ran reports on just what the court call required, you know, or whatever, and the court calendar for each judge. And I went by judge. I didn't go by courtroom necessarily. And in January, we did over 10,500 cases in court. And we have, you know, anywhere from 3 to 5 people off every day, either part of the day or the whole day. So we're working with less than 30 people trying to get all this work done, from taking the paperwork in to getting it into court, getting it scheduled in the computer, doing all the dispos, getting the money paid back out to the people that have posted bond and their cases were dismissed and they want their bond money back, or, you know, I mean, it's just been, we're just conducting triage every day, and we've worked 10 Saturdays since January, and I'm only allowing 4 hours every Saturday. And we have anywhere between 8 and 15 people that come in, and they're asking to come in. It's not a requirement, it's a volunteer basis. They look forward to that time because that's when they can get their work done. Some of them do work on their lunch hour for 4 hours the preceding week. We've kind of worked it that way so that it's easier to adjust payroll every week, every payroll period. But I know that the different offices are now, like probation and state's attorney's office, are talking amongst themselves to see what notes they have, because our notes are not in the computer yet. They're not available because they're always doing something. So I just, you know, Tom, I know I went to his office and talked to him, and then Rhonda up in the state's attorney's office. So it's a chronic situation. The courts have to run, and it's just been a struggle. We did promote the 2 people that, for my new 2 people, I promoted 2 people, and then I started the hiring process, and it's been a long and arduous process. We've finally, we thought we were all good. Last Monday, May 6th, I hired my last one. I had 2 people resign in and amongst all of that. One went to the state's attorney's office. An 8-year employee in my office could go to the state's attorney's office and only concentrate on a smaller, you know, court situation, and is making $2 or $3 an hour more. And that's what they would pay somebody if they walked in off the street. So I lost 8 years of seniority and experience. And then another 8-year employee left because she had a degree and she decided to follow what her degree is. So then I had one clerk that I hired for the traffic court call with Judge Dickinson. She lasted 3 weeks. It was too much, so I just hired a new one this last May 6th to fill that. And then Monday I had a 2-week employee that just resigned because it was too much work for her too. She didn't realize that she was going to put that, you know, we have that much going on, and that was in the main office. So I have another thing out again to try and hire. So it's been a struggle. We're just running nonstop, and I just want to keep everybody aware of what's going on with that.
Questions, comments for Mr. Wheeler?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I highly recommend you talk to HR because it's a federal requirement that people don't work through their lunch. So I
Okay.
recommend that because that puts the county in a
Leroy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Saying thank you. In your mind, what do you think could expedite your process in your office? What ideas do you have that might help besides just throwing
More people at it.
People at it. I mean, and then you get to the people part and having 3 to 5 people off every day. I mean, I'm glad I don't have those headaches because that is just.
And it could be anything from,
If somebody's a specific task that day and that
Mhm.
doesn't get done that day because that's their specific task.
or everybody else picks up the slack and,
Right. Yeah, and then they don't do their specific tasks. So, I mean, do you have any ideas for the committee that you might, is there any way,
Well,
to get back on track to keep up with the courts or?
Well, it's always a ebb and flow kind of a thing too. Like say we were to hire 5 more people, just put it out there. Well, then all of a sudden, maybe we'll get caught up in the case filing situation. I'll catch up. Eventually, I'm praying that eventually this integration will help, because what happens is we have to accept it in the Odyssey format. They have to read through everything now. That's the other thing that's happened is before when people would come to the counter, they would give us the original stack, the copies that they need. We would just file stamp it all, hand it all back, and then take it back to our desk at our leisure. Well, now we have to really review everything. They attach their jury demands and their entry of appearance and all these things that have to be separate entries, so we have to send it back. So there's a lot of computer work that way, so that takes more time. Then after it's all accepted, they keep a note, spiral notebook, and they write down what they've done. Then they go back and they print it all. So the other day, Judge Albrecht came in and there was a stack this big. It was one motion. So it was over 1,000 pages, and they had to do it in parts because even the copy machine was having a hard time keeping up. So then you have to go back into court view, open up court view, enter the case, pick the docket code, and then just sit there and scan it back in with a little desktop scanner. They're phenomenal little scanners, but
It all goes so fast.
right, and then in the middle of that, you're answering the phone, you're waiting on the counter. One of the judges was a little miffed because an attorney came in and handed him the paperwork and said, well, here's my file stamp copy, and it wasn't in our system yet. And the clerk defended the main office and said, well, Judge, what do you expect? They're either on the phone or at the counter. That means they're not at their desk scanning the stuff in. They work really hard, and it's just a lot.
So it's more like the process is so lengthy for each
And
case.
it's become lengthier now
and
that
it's become lengthier, and they're putting more cases in the system, so that the cases go faster than the process. Maybe the cases should slow down so the process can keep up.
Well, and then I've also had, because the state's attorney, they're rearranging their schedule every now and then, but the private attorneys, I finally had one law office tell me that they've had to reschedule hearings because we didn't get to our paperwork fast enough to get the notices out in the amount of time that they needed, and so they've had to reschedule, send new notices, and it's just the trickle-down effect. So I'm hoping after July that things will pan out a little better, but
the fees will get further.
well,
go down.
but that I didn't bring my thing. Yeah, we're not sure how that's going to work either. It's hard to predict because they did increase the fees a little bit. So like if a person gets a divorce or files a civil lawsuit, it is more expensive. But we don't know with the fee waiver applications, we don't know where that's all going to sit.
Well, with the collection thing, I can tell you where I think it's going to sit.
But that's with criminal.
Okay.
I'm talking civil. You
Well,
have to pay
but
your.
still,
Well,
look at
yeah.
our population.
Yeah. I do know too that I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I did just a couple months ago, I was going to bring to this committee for the year, I think I did 2018, just how many fee waiver applications were approved. And there was about 750. So I don't know how many applied, but I know that, and I didn't run the stats to see if it was a civil, criminal, what it was, but it was 750 cases that their fees were waived completely. So you know, and we still have to do the work. That's the problem. We're, you know,
Mr. Burns got a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sandy, have you ever considered looking into possibly hiring part-time workers and have a flex schedule, or and times where you do have a lot of work, where you can bring in added help? Maybe
Well-
there are retirees in the area that are looking for some part-time work. I mean, everybody in the county is doing more but less. I mean,
Sure.
I mean, it's
We've
it's a
talked-
fact of life.
we've talked about it, but I just, you know, it's all budget related. Is what it comes down to. You know, I'm pushing I know I'm pushing the envelope right now, or pushing the line right now with all the comp time and paid time that we're doing right now as it is, you know. So, but I just want to keep you all aware of what's going on, so that if anything, you know, comes back. I had my whole talking point list, and I guess I left it at my office, so that's all I can think of right about now.
Okay, any other questions for Sandy?
Thank you.
Okay, pinch hitting for Mr. Rowe, who is going on a training session, is Joe. In the package, you have a copy of the state attorney reports. Take a motion to combine and approve. Mr. Eckhoff, second by Mr. Snipes. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Jim is in the sunny state of Alabama learning what he's learning in Alabama. I have no idea. Yeah. Anyways, to date, as you can see, we've indicted 351 cases. Now, those are felony cases. It doesn't show how many misdemeanors. We are approving more misdemeanors than we ever have. I can attest with Sandy, the courthouse is a busy, busy place. As you can see, most of the cases that we've been approving in felony-wise come out to crimes against persons. Now, that could be aggravated, that could be felony domestic violences, things like that. But Jim's got us working at a record pace, and we intend to keep working that way. But like I said, it makes it very busy for everyone in that courthouse. Do you have any questions about anything I can answer? Okay.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Next up, Public Defender, Mr. Rodriguez. Take a motion to approve his report, monthly report. Mr. Lear, second by Mr. Byrne. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Did I get a vote on the state's attorney? We have a motion and a second for the state's attorney's reports. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You gotta punch me a little harder. Okay, in your package you have a copy of Mr. Latham's report. Take a motion to approve that. Ms. Dunbar, second by Mr. Carrico. Motion or comments on your report now?
No comments unless anyone has any questions. It's pretty much the same, contacts-wise, level of contacts, everything. So.
Any questions? Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Just a couple things this month. I'm continuing to watch the fee collection. It's like I think I reported a couple months ago. It is dropping. Has dropped. What would be normally $8,500, $9,000 collected every month is sometimes $4,000. This month it's $5,700, which is a decent month. But obviously that's a huge impact. We operate both offices on what we collect from those fees, basically. So I think, like I said before, we're feeling the impact of the Bail Reform Act, and I'll continue to watch that. I think I said last time I hope we bottomed out with it, but I'll keep you posted on that. Normally we would like to collect $100,000 to $120,000 a year in that, and now it's going to be a little bit lower, quite a bit lower. So I'll keep you posted on the fees. To speak to Sandy's point, that the issue she's having, we need to do something to fix that. Obviously, it's that system's very important to us. Being able to get there and view the docket in almost real time, or at least a week or two behind, is huge for us. We have people coming in, we don't know if they had court, what happened in court, when they had next time to have court, if they have a warrant. We've reached out to people, gone out in the community, attempting to contact people, sent notices out, and they're off probation. They got off a month or two ago, but we didn't know it. They were in for a violation. They sentenced time served or whatever it was, and we didn't know that. So we're out and they're wasting time and going out trying to get them back in. Also, the other issue, and Sandy knows this, is getting orders done into our office, which almost should be done daily. We can't have people coming into our office saying I'm on probation and nobody's contacting me. And then we start looking at this, and Sandy, we've talked several times about this. So there's several issues. We need to know what's happening, and part of our job when we meet with them is to remind them you have court, June 1st. Be there. Sitting across from you, they have a warrant for their arrest, and we don't even know they have a warrant because they failed to appear the month earlier. So it is important. That system is very important to us on a daily basis to be able to get in there, view it, and see what's going on and the status of any cases and stuff like that. So I just wanted to touch base, and Sandy and I will continue to meet about this, but just to let you know that. So the other thing is legislation. We're continuing to watch some bills. There's one with a lot of support. That's Senate Bill 1302, which is going to require a juvenile detention hearing within 48 hours. We've talked about this before. That's the best of what's out there, 40 hours and 24 hours. So I think this basically would require a holiday court on occasion, or a weekend Saturday court on occasion. If someone's arrested Friday, they're going to have to be brought in on the weekend, and on cases where there's holidays. Monday is a holiday, we're going to have to open up the courthouse, and there's more involved with this, with juveniles. You have to open the courthouse, the clerk, sheriff, PD, state's attorney, everyone has to be there. So it's a little bit more than dealing with adults on the weekends. So I'll keep you posted on that. The other thing too is AOIC is constantly working around the clock to year round, I should say, for our funding as it relates to our full funding. Keep you posted on where that goes. I don't know if we're going to get fully funded, but there is a potential for some supplemental funding this fiscal year for 19. I don't know how much, and if we'll get that, but maybe a little bit helps. So I'll keep it. And the one thing I don't have it on the agenda, the sheriff has it on the agenda, which is the upgrade in radios. And I just wanted to bring it up today because obviously that impacts our office, and I didn't know if there was going to be some sort of the financing of these new radios. We do it as one, and not as 3 different or 4 different departments coming in financing. I don't know how that's all going to work, but I just wanted to bring it up. We have the numbers. I have the numbers of what's going to cost them. Obviously, it's a lot lower than the sheriff, his cost, but I just wanted to talk about that. So going forward, we can think of that. And also, last is the drug court graduation is tomorrow, 10:30. I know that might run into the police memorial on the courthouse lawn at 11. I don't think it's going to be done since it starts at 10:30. So just so you know, if you attend that, you might not be able to attend the police memorial. Any questions? Ran through it quick, but any questions?
Mr. Wheeler.
I'll answer one of your questions. The radio purchase was going to be coroner, sheriff, and your office together.
Okay.
And it's going to be financed. We're getting the numbers together right now, and it's on the next year's budget out of capital.
Okay.
That's where we're going to put it. So we haven't obviously done the budget yet, but that's where it's going to be inserted. I believe January is when STARCOM goes in effect. Is that
Yeah, it's end of this year.
end of this year? So we obviously budget year starts December 1st. We're probably going to have to order something this year. So as far as down payments, first payments, all that stuff, I don't know yet. We should know by finance this one.
Okay.
But the intent is to have those departments all go together.
Okay.
But I think, was that all of them? Was there one more, Mike? Was it just those 3 departments? Those 3. Yeah, I didn't know if there was somebody else that had a few. I think you might have been the one that we thought of at the end that, hey, you're going to need a few yourself. So.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, Mr. Latham? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is the sheriff. You should have received the monthly report from the sheriff via email. Take a motion to approve by Ms. Dunbar, second by Mr. Olthoff. Good morning again, sir.
Good morning. These microphones aren't very loud.
I think we've said that for a couple of months, but I know your budget is pretty strapped.
It is. All right, a couple things from the monthly report. Our inmate population, if you compare the two from 2018 to 2019, our local average has increased by about 20 on average. So that could be anywhere from 15 to 25 more this year than there were last year of locals. Our out-of-county number also went up by about 40. So that obviously is the difference in some of the money you may see. Our revenue right now for fiscal year 2019 is about $160,000 more at this time this year than last year. And we're projected about to be approximately 1.5 million more, so our revenue would be close to about 12 million. And the anticipated revenue that's in our budget is 10 million. So I think those are positive things that will work out for everybody. So we're happy about that. I hope everybody else is as well. So when talking about our out of counties, with our locals being so high, we had to make some decisions that affected our housing. And one of the decisions that we made because of the local numbers is we contacted Cook County, and we have sent all of our Cook County inmates back to Cook County, which all told there was 15 or 16. It wasn't a great number, but they are all back in Cook County or other jails possibly, but they are not in our facility. Our relationship with Cook County, however, is still good. They understood our plight from our local number, and so if it ever comes down to it again, I believe that they would still be willing to house individuals here just because of our location and how we handle their inmates. So Cook County is no longer in our custody at this point. They've been out since, I think the first day they were all out was, I believe, and Chad, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was May 2nd or so. So I think we held on to a couple for some different reasons. So May 2nd, I think they were out. So questions on that? Transports, one glaring number that sticks out to me anyway is the increase in medical transports. I think a lot of that has to do with the medical treatment that we are providing for ICE detainees. So those have gone up. Obviously, we don't pay for their medical treatment. ICE pays for that. ICE pays for our officer salaries, and ICE pays for mileage for transporting them there too. So it's really no cost, but something that you should be aware of. Obviously, the cost comes with the wear and tear on our vehicles, but most of those transports are local. So the concerning number we talked about before with DOC and the releases, last year they released 835. There's a good likelihood that number will be more this year of releases back into our community. So we wonder why our local population continues to increase when people come back. Unfortunately, not all of them come back and follow the laws, so they end up back in our custody. Questions on the correction side?
Mr. Snipes.
I know there was some talk some time ago about this transition from prison back into street life, but I know that it had not been finalized. I know that Reverend Clark and some other folks was appointed, but I know, where's that status, or is it just it hasn't been funded? Because that looked like it would be a critical part.
If it's a state program, not being funded is probably a good guess.
Right, that's what I could have figured. But it's a most needed element, because considering that some of these individuals have been locked up for some time,
right,
and coming back to transition is a different world,
right,
than when they went in.
No question about it.
And so as a result, no job opportunities, no nothing. So to me, they know what they were accustomed to, and so they say, let's go back and do this,
Right, no
so
doubt.
that I can go back in, just at least get 3 meals a day and
So
shelter.
what you were talking about is that reentry program that the state passed, I want to say back in 2006, 2007, and
Yeah.
that's kind of where KCRO has evolved from, because the goal was to be that transitioning area. I think ultimately the goal was anybody getting released from DOC was going to come back here to spend their last 6 months. The state was going to pay for it, and then we had people here who would be able to work with them to get them the things they need, to get them transitioned back into what they've missed while they've been incarcerated, and maybe help them with jobs, help them find a place to live. We still do that. Renewed Opportunity, KCRO still does that now, but they do it mainly with locals. However, if somebody comes back into our community and needs help, I mean, that's what KCR does. I mean, KCRO, they help these people find these things. So it's out there, but it's just not, you know, the state said they're not going to pay to house their people here. We were going to have to take them here, and they weren't going to pay for anything, which is typical state of Illinois. And, you know, they never did that. It didn't make any sense for us to do it.
Yeah, the 835 is what raised my eyebrow, because you wouldn't have the manpower to kind of transition all those individuals,
Right.
no matter how great your program may be.
Exactly, no doubt. But to KCRO's credit, they do a great job in trying to find services, resources, things for these individuals who don't know where to go look, who don't have access to them and all that. So it's been good.
Mr.
Thanks.
Olthoff.
Thank you, Chairman. The ICE detainees, can you tell us what percentage are felons, misdemeanors, or illegals? Illegal alien, I mean, they're probably all illegals, but
Specifically, no.
no.
But I do have some information that I'll share at the end with some of that information that you have.
Okay.
Because I know there's a lot of question out there about that,
Yeah, thank
and a
you.
lot of misinformation about that.
Yes.
Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you. With regard to meals and things like that, is there in the Illinois jail standards, or what we do with DHS, is there any caloric intake standards that we are mandated to meet?
Absolutely.
I put it on the T there for you. What is that number? I'm just curious.
I actually have that on my list as well, Mr. Chairman. But
We didn't talk
just-
before this, by the way.
and-
Yeah.
No, we did not talk.
Yeah.
So, but you didn't put me on the spot like Mr.
I'm
Hess
sorry.
did.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So, basically, we go through a DOC inspection every year. And we have gone through 4 ICE inspections since 2016. And we have met or exceeded their standards of our food in every inspection. That has never been an issue. So what you were told yesterday was absolutely inaccurate. And for those people sitting around me, instead of using the initials BS, I think I used the word. And I apologize to those people who were sitting around me, because it was absolutely BS what they were talking about yesterday.
Thank you.
There, I apologized. Okay, sworn. On the
Yeah.
sworn side. Go ahead. So, the number, obviously, that we, talked about, and you guys had a speaker yesterday who talked about motorcycle safety and seeing motorcycles, which was obviously, there was a passion there with motorcycles, as some people have. Fatals is what we keep an eye on and hope to reduce to 0. One's too many. A couple years ago, if you remember, we were at about 19, I believe, and that's countywide. That's not just county roads. It's countywide. Last year, we were at 9 for the year, so we did reduce the number by 10. And this year, we're already at 7. So it's not a very good start to the year. Obviously, we identify problem areas and tend to direct our guys to kind of patrol that area a little bit more, slow traffic down. But we can't be everywhere at every place. No law enforcement agency can. So we are out there. We are aware of where those areas are, and we are doing what we can to stop it. But I would reiterate, especially now with, hopefully spring's here or summer's here, or whatever this weather is, and more motorcycles are out there, I would certainly remind everybody to just be aware of motorcycles and where they're at, and the possibility of them being around and not being able to see them. So we have done a couple traffic details. We did a Scott's Law detail, I think I may have talked about at the Finance Committee meeting. We also did a distracted driving detail. and those were very successful. Well, unsuccessfully successful, as people seem to not care about having a cell phone in their hand or up to their ear, and again, it's about following the law and putting your phone down while you're driving and pay attention to the road. So we will continue to do those throughout the year, though. We're not just going to do it during distracted driving month. So, questions on the report? That's all I have on the report.
No questions? We have a motion and a second. Oh, Mr. Snipes.
Along with motorcycles, we also encourage them not to kind of slow down for those sites that's under construction, the workers that are out there as well. They're not on the 55 as much, or else I'm going to Six Flags or something. But just want to focus back real quickly on that term when you all are serving meals and things at the jail. Something was brought to my attention by one of the individuals who hadn't been an inmate there. And they told me that they were a diabetic and that they served them, sometimes they have to serve them outside of the mealtime or whatever to deal with the diabetic. So in a generic sense, or whatever, he says that, he reported that y'all kind of did a good job as far as doing that or whatever. And on the generic sense, it lets me know that you got to deal with different diets. Because everybody don't eat meats or whatever up in there and things of this nature. Some people are diabetic or have other problems. So you have to be keen aware of that. So it's just, you use it in the sense of just generic of, we provide the meals, but these meals are definitely
and that's a great point, and I'm glad that somebody actually said that we do that, because sometimes when you tell people that, they're like, oh yeah, whatever. We are required to prepare special meals for health issues, religious issues, and allergy issues. It's not just throwing slop in a bucket and throwing it on a tray and sending it out. It's good food. Our food service provider does a great job. We probably pay a little bit more than what we would normally if we went through a corrections type food service, but it's to eliminate lawsuits, to eliminate problems in the jail. It's well worth it. So I appreciate that, Mr. Snipes.
Any other comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So-
Upgraded radios.
Yep. So the upgraded radios. So we have talked about this for a while, and we're trying to get what we need and what I guess we're trying to get a number for the finance committee, and I'll work with Tom to get his number. I have the coroner's number, and it just makes sense just to do this all in one lump sum rather than have Tom do a separate lease and Bob do a separate lease and the sheriff do a separate lease. So we'll get all those numbers together for finance, but a couple things, and this may, Mr. Chairman, this may benefit you in what you're thinking as far as the number. I think there's two things. I think, one, we have to go out and seek the best possible interest rate for any sort of lease, and look maybe past Motorola. Don't look past them, but consider it, depending on what the interest rate is. One of the advantages to Motorola's lease is that the first payment is due 1 year after the contract is executed. So you actually have a little bit more time, where I think if we lease from a bank, the minute you take your lease out, you're going to make your payment. So that's something also to consider. But I'll get Tom's, I have Bob's, and we'll get those numbers back to Motorola and get the complete price, complete numbers for the finance committee, if that's okay.
If you're not paying you have to see the paperwork. If you're not paying your first payment until after your year, you've accrued all that interest throughout the year. So your principal is not being addressed. But again, we'll look at the paperwork.
There's options, which are good.
No, that's good.
Yep.
What else?
Let's see. I got a couple other things here. Some of the things that we like to show Trim, if you could turn this on, just to show you what some of our officers do. We had an incident during the flooding where we received a phone call from, or a 911 call. We didn't receive it. It went to 911. And we had an officer who responded out on, it's right off of Career Center Road and Bluegill Road. If you're going out by Career Center before you get to that bridge, almost to Mantino, there's Bluegill Road, and you turn left. Well, Bluegill Road was flooded, and our deputy responded, Sergeant Todd Huntley, and we'll just show you what happened. Huh? Yeah, go ahead. So you can just watch. It's, how long does this last? 3 hours? Yeah. Okay. That's not Bluegill Road. So that's Career Center. And again, you know, we're going to a call not knowing, or hopefully, that water's not across the road. This was during the 3 or 4 days that we were a little concerned about floods. So these are two, how old are these girls, Trent? Oh, okay. They were, I don't want to say young. College age probably is probably a good description.
Young.
Young, yeah. Isn't this exciting? I know. Is there sign? Oh boy. So here he's coming up the Bluegill Road.
And it says water on
It
pavement.
says, yeah, the signs were out, water on pavement. So Bluegill Road is the road to the left. And he's going to turn on this road. He's not going to ruin the car, Mr. Wheeler, don't worry.
Not here, at least.
Yeah, not here. So there's the car. You can see the car out in the middle. The girls in the car were a little bit scared. The water was a little bit, they didn't know what was deep, what wasn't deep. And to narrate this and maybe move it along a little bit, our deputy, Sergeant Huntley, literally had in his car, now this isn't standard issue, but had in his car a pair of waders. Yeah, right? And so there he is, wading out to the car in his waders. And some of you don't realize this, but had he walked out there in his boots, we would have had to buy him a new pair of boots. So we actually saved us $150 on a pair of boots. So, but no, this is definitely going above and beyond. Is he out there yet?
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
coming
okay,
back.
so
with-
they're coming back. So
Right.
that's really the gist of it. I just wanted to show you that. I thought that was
But,
kind of
you know, here's an experienced guy that's been through this before. That's probably why he carried his waders
exactly.
with him.
I think there's a couple guys that do carry waders, but yeah, they literally have those waders in their car. He was able to get these girls back to safety. Not sure what the car ended up costing, but you know that wasn't our responsibility. So, and then secondly, another feel-good story, if you will. We got notified that there was a World War II vet, a 94-year-old World War II vet who passed away, and his services were May 8th. This gentleman had no family. He was in the Navy. He was 94 years old. He was a graduate of Kankakee High School. We got a call in our office just basically saying, hey, this guy has no family. He was one of the first residents of Miller. So you know how long he had been at Miller. No family. His burial was May 8th, and they asked us if we could send some people just to show up. Our guys showed up, and our guys ended up being pallbearers for him. So it's a credit to our guys. You know, they're not just guys in uniform, they're human beings, and they care about this community. And I'm really proud of them for doing that. It was an awesome day. You know, the things like that is what make this job fun. So just thought you guys should know.
And things like that should be noticed, you know, should be a notice in the paper, what happened.
No, I know. I mean, and that's not why we do this. I mean, but I think it's something that you guys as a board should know that, you know, they're just not out there, you know, collecting a paycheck. They are literally working, trying to make not only our department look good, but trying to make the county itself look good. And I think that's a credit to our staff. And like I said, I'm so proud of them for doing what they did. This guy, who deserved more, we were glad we could help. So a credit to all those guys. A couple other things, and then I'll be done. The quote attributed to me yesterday during public comment was accurate. Laura McElroy was at the symposium and wrote the article. She did a great job with it. We kind of joked that since it was in the journal, it wasn't accurate, but Laura was actually spot on, and so I just wanted to clarify that, as we sometimes laugh and make jokes. So you hear every month as a board from our local anti-immigration detention groups. You also hear from others from places like Skokie and Evanston, and who come down and tell us how bad we are for housing for ICE. Mr. Olthoff brought up a valid question that as we've gone back and forth before, unfortunately we can't provide names, we can't provide much information, because all that information has to come through ICE. But here's what I can tell you. These papers are the papers that we get back from ICE every day. So these papers on your right are what we get back from ICE. These papers on your left are what we get back from the Illinois Department of Corrections when we go pick up people who are getting out of prison. Now remember, when we talked about the people who are getting out of prison, years ago, people were getting out of prison coming back in our community. So these are detainees with ICE holds who are now being picked up by law enforcement and ultimately they have already gone through the ICE process, and they are being deported. And all I can tell you, and I will tell you, Mr. Olthoff, to briefly answer your question, I won't go through all these, but you know, I'll just go through the first few. Criminal sexual assault, family member less than 18. Aggravated criminal sexual abuse, victim less than 13. Aggravated criminal sexual abuse, victim 13 to 17. Manufactured delivery of less than 900 grams of cocaine. Predatory criminal sexual assault. DUI, fourth DUI. Manufactured delivery less than 100 grams of cocaine. Driving revoked. Now, if you go to prison for driving revoked, you've done it more than once. Probably done it more than 3 or 4 times. Aggravated criminal sexual assault, less than 5 years old. Manufactured delivery, less than 100 grams of cocaine. Aggravated DUI, death of another. Home invasion. Manufactured delivery, less than 100 grams of cocaine. Predatory criminal sexual assault. And I've got 40 more I could give you. That's from DOC. These are pages that we get from ICE when ICE is sending, or we are transporting back from Chicago, ICE detainees to come here. And I will show you these yellow highlights. Highlighted in yellow are those with criminal offenses. Okay? So this is from March 6th, and these were just taken in order. So the blue highlights are those who are here for illegal entry or no charges. So of the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 that came back, 2 of them were illegal entry and no charges. Now remember, illegal entry can mean that they've tried to come here multiple times, and they automatically go back. So there's no discussion on whether they're charged with a crime or anything. That's ICE rules. Here's one solo, and you look at these yellow numbers, there's 2 blue, there's 3 yellows, there's 2 blue, 2 blue. I hope I'm holding this up in the camera and somebody's looking at it. Yellow, 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 remember yellow's criminal charges. 2 blue, yellow, 3 blue, because 3 blue, 2 blue, but more yellow. So I think you get the point as to what we're talking about. And I'm all for, as I was properly quoted yesterday by the Daily Journal and one of the public speakers, I'm all for sitting down and working with Washington, D.C. and trying to figure out something. But for people to come and talk and make it sound like we are housing people who have done nothing wrong is ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. Our locals have a story. I mean, ICE detainees have a story. Our local inmates have a story. Everybody's got a story. But here it is. This is what we're getting back. We're getting people who are criminal here. You want to come to our country? Don't commit a crime. It's that simple. I mean, I don't know where else you can go with this. But every month we'll get people coming in saying, oh, these poor, poor guys. And it's, what they're telling you is just not accurate. So that's information you guys need to know because all you're hearing is one side.
Mr. Olthoff.
Thank you, Chairman. Could we videotape the sheriff's comments and play it after each public comment at the board meeting?
I don't think we can do that.
Let's see. So that's that. They mentioned yesterday there's legislation about this 287G agreement through ICE, and what this 287G agreement does is basically it allows us to train, or allows ICE to train individuals within our department, whether they're deputies or correctional officers, who then have the ability to serve an ICE hold. Because right now, under the law, if nobody from ICE is here, we cannot legally hold an ICE detainee. So if we have an ICE detainee in here, or somebody who has an ICE hold, and we have in our custody on our local charges, so he's committed a crime, or at least he was arrested for committing a crime. We're all innocent until proven guilty. We cannot hold him and wait for ICE to get here under the law right now, and we don't do that. What this allows us to do is this allows our staff to basically act as a member of ICE and serve that detainee so we can hold him. Now, people will say, oh, that's just, skirting the system. Well, you know what? As the sheriff, if somebody's here on a criminal charge and we're not able to hold him because he's got a nice hold and he goes out and does something like kill somebody, who's going to get blamed for it? The sheriff. So we're still looking into this. We're not sure that we're going to end up doing it, but it is on the table, and what they said yesterday was accurate about that being on the table. So
Would you train people from different shifts?
ICE would, ICE would do that. They would train multiple.
So every shift was
Yes.
covered and stuff
Yes.
like that?
Yes. And as I always like to do, although sometimes I can't, but I'd like to end on positives.
Mr. Olthoff has a question about
sorry.
that first.
If there are undocumented workers in the county who have a driver's license and who are obeying the laws,
Nobody's going after them.
Exactly. And we get told differently.
Yes,
So.
nobody is going after them.
Right.
So the positives at the end here, our medical savings. I've talked to you about our medical savings and what we're doing with our medical staff and going through medical bills and who understand how medical billing works, which I don't believe, well, maybe some of us in here understand it, but I sure as a heck don't. We have saved, after almost 1 year, $111,000 that we did not pay, that had she not been here, we would have ended up paying. So that's a positive. And I know somebody mentioned it about drug court. Unfortunately, the drug court graduation and the law enforcement memorial are similar times. If you choose whichever one you wish, We'll be at the courthouse, in the courthouse lawn at 11 o'clock tomorrow for the Law Enforcement Memorial, and certainly invite all of you to come, just like you can go to the courthouse and go to drug court graduation as well, because, again, the drug court graduation is an important part of the process of these individuals getting through this program and going on to be productive citizens in our community, and that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. So that's all I got.
Any other questions or comments for the sheriff?
Oh, we do have one more picture, Trent, if you want to show the picture that wasn't on the video of our deputy going to rescue those girls. Maybe. All right, never mind. There they are. See, look at that. So we got an alligator here. We got a shark here, and the waves. So yeah, so he did good work. It's a good thing he had waiters.
Yeah. Okay. Up next is the coroner. In your package, you have a copy of the coroner's monthly report and a coroner's monthly receipt of money. I take a motion to combine and approve them. Mr. Lear, second by Ms. Parker. Good morning, coroner.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Wonderful.
I don't have any movies. I don't think you want to see them.
No.
Keep your pictures to yourself. I do. You can see on our report here. I'll kind of go quickly on that. We're holding our budget real comfortable right now. We are increasing a little bit on autopsies. But here comes the summer months, basically, where we usually rise on them. Other than that, I don't see a lot. We're also holding right now 9 overdoses right now in the county, and 2 pending right now. That's a great achievement right there to bring it down to where it was in 2017. We're continually doing work on that. I'll take any questions anybody has on this here, and I'll go over some other stuff.
No questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Good news is we're going to continue 3 years ago when I got the 225,000, we hit another 225,000 at last year, and this year here we're going to get 300,000. So that's going to be another help for us to not only get equipment that the county would have to buy, we can buy it off the grant. It helps quite considerably. I think that's a big achievement with the Narcan program of bringing our numbers down. I also have told you that what my goal was in 2017 to now, and I think we've achieved it in Kankakee County, is that I spent last week I went out to the Family Guidance Center out with the old Brandon House, and I got to see and tour through the place of what they're going to do here, and that is going to be our achievement. If somebody comes up to me and wants to know what can I do for my granddaughter, my daughter, my sister, there's the answer. They're open 24/7. There's nothing. I talked to their vice president of Family Guidance Center and their director. It was a very interesting talk. They're big in all the communities from Joliet areas where we learned about them, and they came over to the Brandon House. They got 50, I think, beds right now. They're up to 80 beds. They're working well with all of our people throughout the Helen Wheeler and the Dwayne Dean. They're working with these people up in Mantino, the system that's now Iroquois. I'm really pleased with it. I spent, my chief deputy and I spent about an hour out there. They're redoing the place, painting the place. I was very, very impressed. So if an officer does come across something like that, they'll be able to take them in there right away and get treatment for them. Their average stay is about 28 days. They want to go even farther than that to bring in a detox center to our area. So I'm very, very thrilled with that. The only other thing that we got, I saw what Michael did, and also, in our area, just not right crossover in the farm field over here, we come across a lot of bones, in a particular cemetery that nobody knows whose property it was. And through, first of all, when we got the bones, we quickly took pictures, sent them to my anthropologist immediately. Within about 15 to 20 minutes after I sent them, I got an answer back and said that they're human bones. It's usually finding some type of a deer or animal bone, but these were human bones, which now becomes a crime scene. So, not knowing what the place was, considering working out, the sheriff was out there with me, and ISP, I called ISP, the crime scene people in there. We got through all that and found out it's a cemetery. It was the first cemetery of the Kankakee State Hospital way back in the 1800s to the 1900s, and it went on to their other cemetery, which is across River Road. We were able to find out through the county, when I went up to the planning department, and found out that this was Kankakee Valley Park District's property. So went over to talk to the executive director over there. She was very nice about everything. We talked about what we were going to do. We went out there. I talked to the anthropologist again, who talked to the state of Illinois. As long as we bury those bones again, we were all right. And they're putting a fence around that. And it even goes back into the Civil War days, the possibility that there's bodies in there. There's over 40 some bodies in there. We did, so those are some of the things that we did, and in cooperation with law enforcement, it worked out very well on that aspect. Other than that, I'm looking at, I think I got everything down here. Other than I want to look to my right and say to not only the chairman, to the grandpa, congratulations on the award that your grandsons got. The Medal of Honor awards, and they got the Medal of Valor award, which is second highest
In the state of
in the
Illinois.
state of Illinois, to Aaron and Adrian.
Correct.
Cavender. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Oh, Miss Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bob, I just want to say thank you for the seminar that was last month at KCC about marijuana and it coming into the state of Illinois. Eye-opening facts were presented and testimony from your speakers. So I just want to say thank you, and I hope people really realize it's not as good as they think it's going to be for Illinois. So
Well,
thank you for bringing that to the attention of the public.
Thank you very much. It's been a long haul. We're not done yet. Anybody that's interested in a little bit more data than what they think they got, I'd be more than happy to talk to them one-on-one, because it's dangerous. You're going to watch our numbers go up. In 2012, I told you about heroin. Now I'm telling you about marijuana. But sometimes it goes in one ear out the other ear to a lot of people. So,
Thank you.
no problem. Thank you. Thank you.
Your microphone is turned off. Any old business to come before the committee? Any old business? Any new business to come before the committee? Take a motion to adjourn. Mr. Olthoff, in the absence of Mr. Legest and Ms. Dunbar. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Make sure everybody has signed these papers.